this is Sleeping Pearl. Welcome back, or welcome. In this session of relaxation, the subject will be water. Because last time when I made my matchlight video, and where I whispered to you about fire, I thought it was obvious to make kind of the same style video about water then. So I already have a tray with water. I got some glasses, different types. This is just one of them. And I also have these pretty marbles. I don't know what it is, but I think it just goes together with water. So I will see what I can do with these. And later, we will dive into my bathtub. It's a jacuzzi, or, well, it makes bubbles. It looks like a bathtub, but it makes the bubbles like a jacuzzi. And then I will just, with my arms, make some waves with it. Turn the bubbles on. And see what happens. Then I ask from you if you could let me know, in case the settings of my video are not that okay, like the volume, for example, or if there is too much white noise or something. You can always let me know. I mean, you can comment whatever you want, but it's the feedback I need for the way I film my things, because it's very important to me that for you the sound is good, so that you can completely relax, or the way that I speak, I can speak higher or lower. Anything. So serious relaxation. Let's go over to the water sounds. Here is my little set of glass water instruments. Let's tap gently on it first to get used to their own sound, because you will hear these throughout the video sometimes. For you to decide whether you like it or not. I prefer to let you know this in advance, since with this do-it-yourself setup, it was pretty unavoidable to get tap sounds here and there. And don't forget some glass marble sounds too. if you are still with me, try to relax, breathe, and just let it go. This little installation represents a tiny amount of water, a tiny part of millions of trillions of gallons in the world. But did you know that only 3% of it is actually fresh water? And 2/3 of this 3% is locked up into the ice caps and glaciers of our planet. It is vital for all known forms of life. As I told you before in my match light video, fire and ice created our world. Our tiny blue planet compared to the universe. It's so precious, our water, and shape-shifting from ice to steam, from snow to clouds, fog, dew, rain. And when two water drops unite, they become one. Isn't that amazing when you think about it? Sometimes we forget that the water cycle and the life cycle are one. stream of water, like life, is renewed and renewed, though it wears the appearance of continuity in form. Ponds, they develop so fast because many of their animals and even plants are highly mobile. Rivers are roads which move and which carry us whither we desire to go. The lake is the landscape's most beautiful and expressive feature. It is Earth's eye, looking into which the beholder measures the depth of his own nature. The sea is as near as we come to another world. I have seen the sea when it is stormy and wild, when it is quiet and serene, when it is dark and moody. And in all its moods, I see myself. The tides are in our veins. Let's make some gentle marble sounds. These two marbles look themselves like two little water worlds. How inappropriate to call this planet Earth when it is clearly ocean. we never know the worth of water until the well is dry. Where is the beauty and power of water better described than in the Greek mythology? Let's find out a little more about some of these famous myths. Unlike fire that was given to humanity at a certain point, water on Earth has always been there and everywhere. There are so many water gods and sea deities in different forms and time eras that it is impossible to cover all of them. The range of aquatic divinities of the classical era go from primordial powers and an Olympian on the one hand to heroized mortals, sonic nymphs, trickster figures, and monsters on the other. Let's start with the primordials. It would mean that we go very far back in time, almost to the beginning, when the earth took shape. The divine powers who represented this are 1. Gaia, who is known as being Mother Earth. 2. Tartarus, represents the deep abyss of the underworld. 3. Eros, god of attraction and procreation. 4. Pontos, Pontos was the personification of the sea itself, and therefore the first Sea Lord. He brought all the fish and other creatures of the sea into this world. In Roman mosaic, he appears as a giant head rising from the sea, adorned with a water-grey beard and crab-claw horns. Pontus united with Gaia, and this produced many minor sea gods and goddesses. And after, with Thalassa, his wife, Thalassa, the spirit of the sea. From their union came new tribes of fish and sea creatures. Gaia united besides Pontus also with her own creation, the primordial god Uranus, god of the heavens, the sky. This produced 12 giant gods, the Titans, 6 males and 6 females. Oceanus. 2. Hyperion. 3. Chaos. 4. Cronus. 5. Trias, 6 Iapetus, 7 Mnemosyne, 8 Tethys, 9 Theus, 10 Phoebe, 11 Rhea, 12 Themis, 'Some of them were very related to the sea, like Oceanus and Tethys. Oceanus was the titan of the sea and all water boundaries. He was the personification of the ever-flowing stream that encircled the earth. He had, like Pontus, horns in the form of crab claws and had the lower torso of a sea serpent in mosaic art. Here you can see a very famous fountain with this statue, the Trevi Fountain in Rome. Tethys was goddess of the sources of fresh water. In mosaic art, she appears with a small pair of wings decorating her brow, probably in her role as the mother of the rain clouds. Oceanus let all the fresh water stream over the earth as rivers. This titan and titaness created a large offspring, such as the Oceanides, 3,000 daughters, nymphs, who were minor goddesses of nature, specifically the rivers of the world, and the fountains, subterranean springs, wells, lakes, clouds, winds, breezes, sunsets, and sunrises. to the Titans again. Cronus and Rhea. Their children were the most famous gods and goddesses. The 12 Olympians, of course. One, Zeus. 2, Hera. 3, Poseidon. 4, Hades. 5, Athena. 6, Apollo. 7, Artemis. 8, Ares. 9, Aphrodite. 10, Hephaestus. 11, Hermes. 12, Hestia. Let's focus, of course, on Poseidon, the most famous sea lord and protector of aquatic life. During the 10-year lasting war with the Titans, where the Olympian children needed to defeat specifically Cronus, and succeeded in this, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon decided who would rule which realm. So they drew straws. Hades would rule the underworld. Zeus, the heavens. And Poseidon, the realm of the waters. Poseidon had special powers, just like the others. For example, he could cause earthquakes and storms with all its consequences. those are: 1. A trident that he uses to control the water. 2. The dolphin, because a very good friend of him was the god Dolphin. 3. A horse, because he created the first horse on earth. 4. A bull. This had to do with the origins of the Minotaur myth, but also because Poseidon could be aggressive as a bull. He definitely wasn't always a nice god because of his moodiness. And he didn't care to hang out much on Mount Olympus, only for important matters. Instead, he preferred to ride his chariot, made out of shells, throughout the sea. The chariot was pulled by hippocamps. These were hybrid animals. The head and forepart was a horse, and behind they had a fishtail. Like this, the god would go to turbulent waters and restore the peace and tranquility there. Once the tempest had been calmed, aquatic creatures of every type would rise out of the brine and follow behind his rolling wheels, laughing and dancing happily upon the froth. On the land, he was chief of many cities, like Corinth, and several coastal cities of southern Italy. The most mystical city that he ruled over was the city of Atlantis. One time, he was particularly interested in a certain island, but Athena, goddess of wisdom and skill, was too. The first king on the island, Cecrops, which was half man and half snake, prayed to the gods at the Acropolis. He asked for a truly valuable gift for his city. two gods that were interested. They had to prove that their gift would be most valuable. Poseidon struck the earth powerfully with his trident, and a well was created. Only it turned out to be salt water. Cecrops said that this could not serve to his people, unfortunately. Then Athena struck the earth with her spear and planted a small young olive tree. This symbolized peace and prosperity for the cities and the people. Cecrops was impressed and would become the patron of his land, and the city was named after her. Poseidon wasn't pleased and cursed the city to never have enough fresh water. Until today, Athens still faces regularly with a fresh water shortage. What about Poseidon's personal life? It turns out that he had a weakness for the ladies. Often, the ladies weren't interested in him because of his difficult character. His problem was that he wouldn't take no for an answer, and sometimes tricked them or persuaded them. One time, he desired a goddess, Demeter, goddess of harvest. Demeter said to him, "If you want to impress me, make me then the most beautiful animal this world has ever seen." His first attempt was the hippo, then the camel, then the giraffe, and after that, the zebra. After refining, he made the first horses out of sea waves. Another tale is that once he let his eye fall on a beautiful golden-haired priestess and was devoted to a life of celibacy. Poseidon seduced her, and she fell for him, wanting to marry him. But when the goddess found out, a dreadful punishment awaited. Every wavy lock of her hair that Poseidon so desired was turned into a venomous snake. Her skin became green and scaly, and her eyes bloodshot and cold as stone. Nobody could ever look into her eyes again, for they would literally turn to stone. She was Medusa. You probably know that she was killed one day by Perseus. But one important thing happened right after this, and that is not correct in the movies that they made about this myth. Right after she was slain, she fell on the floor and bled until she passed away. The blood was spilled over the floor. One of the most beautiful creatures that Olympia has known was born out of her blood. It was Pegasus. This is what her union before with Poseidon created. Pegasus served Perseus, but later flew to Olympia. Again, another tale is that Poseidon fell in love with a young woman of the island Atlantis named Cleito and married her. He built a city there, and on a mountain in the center of the city, he built a palace for Cleito. Atlantis was a paradise. No one had to work hard. Every type of wonderful food grew there, and animals were plentiful. cold springs that came from the earth. His descendants never lacked for water. They had a glorious culture with wonderful palaces and temples. The kings were rich in gold, silver, and other precious metals. The people of Atlantis lived in a golden age of harmony and abundance. Then things began to change. The minor gods started to intermarry with humans. The Atlanteans became greedy for more than they had. They decided to conquer the lands around the Mediterranean Sea. Zeus, king of all gods, saw what had happened to the rulers. They had abandoned the laws that Poseidon set down for Atlantis, that the rulers were to follow. He assembled all the gods of Olympus around him and was to pronounce judgment over the island. Zeus sent a gigantic volcanic eruption and earthquakes which caused the island to sink into the sea. Until today, people try to find this lost island and hope to find its lost treasures. Eventually, Poseidon finally married a woman to be known as his official wife, Amphitrite, a sea nymph, daughter of a minor sea god. At first, she wasn't interested, but he knew that she loved dolphins. He was mesmerized by her beauty and kindness and asked the dolphin Delphinus to convince her to marry him. And finally, she agreed. For that, Poseidon gave Delphinus a constellation in the sky, named after him, as a sign for his eternal gratitude, and they stayed close friends. is.